S10 it also come to the state S1, which is regenerative state. Now come to the state S5 where one unit is operative and other is failed under repair. From S5 it goes to the state S11 and S12. At state S11, uh, failed unit is continuously under repair and other is failed waiting for inspection. And from S11 it also come to state S1, which is regenerative state for this. At state S12, the failed unit is continuously under repair and other is waiting for preventive maintenance. Now from S12, it comes to the state S7, which is a regenerative state. Now come to the state S7 where one unit is continuously under inspection and other is waiting for preventive maintenance. Then from S6 it goes to the state S13 and S14. As state S13, the one unit is failed under repair and other is continuously waiting for preventive maintenance. And then it comes to the state S7. Now come to the state S14 where one unit is failed under replacement and other is continuously waiting for preventive maintenance. Then from S14 it goes to the regenerative state S7. Now come to the state S7 where it goes to the state S15 where one unit is failed waiting for inspection and other is continuously under preventive maintenance. And from S5 it comes to the state S1, which is regenerative state for S15. This is the transition state diagram. Now these are the transition probabilities and mean solution times. This is the probability equation for system model, and these are the transition probabilities for various states. These are the mu I is are the mean solution times, and this is the formula for mean solution times, and these are the expression for mean solution time. Now reliability and mean time to system failure. Let xi t be the CDF of the first transition time for regenerative state Si to a failed state, which is also absorbing state, and these are the recursive relations or expressions which are obtained from the system model. This is the formula for reliability, and this is the formula for MTSF, and these are the this is the steady state availability. Let AIT be the probability that the system is in off state at time t with respect to the condition that system goes to regenerative state Si at time t is equal to 0. We have the relation for AIT as these are the recursive relation for steady state availability, and this is the formula for steady state availability, and these are the expression we obtained. This is n1 numerator and this is d1 is denominator. Now busy period analysis of servers. There first, due to inspection, let BIT be the probability of the busy period of the server during inspection at instant t with the given condition that system go to regenerative state Si at t is equal to 0. These are the recursive relations which are obtained for busy period due to inspection, and this is the formula for busy period of the analysis of the inspection. Due to repair, busy period inspection due to repair is there. Let BIRT be the probability of the busy period of the server during repair at time t, given that the system entered regenerative state Si at t is equal to 0. And these are the recursive relation for repair, busy period due to repair, and busy period due to replacement is the probability of the busy time in replacement of the server at instant t, given that the system goes in a regenerative state Si at t is equal to 0. And these are the recursive relations for busy period due to replacement, and due to busy period due to preventive maintenance is let BIPT be the probability of busy time in preventive maintenance for server at instant t, given that a system come into the regenerative state Si at t is equal to 0. And these are the recursive relations for preventive maintenance. Now the expected number of inspection. Consider I naught t as the expected number of inspection by the server in time 0 to t with given condition that the system go to the regenerative state Si at t is equal to 0. We have the following is in equations for I naught t. These are the equations which are obtained for the expected number of inspections, and this is the formula which for the expected number of inspection. Now expected numbers of repairs.
Sorry
Consider
for the
R naught t.
interruption. Please bind up, because we have less number of time.
Okay, sir. This is the expected number of replacements and the expected number of preventive maintenance. And now the cost benefit analysis. The cost benefit or profit function of the present model in the steady state is obtained by using the following mathematical relations. This is the mathematical relations. Now the values of MTSF for different parameters are given in this table, which is shown that as the failure rate increase, the MTSF is goes on decreasing. And this is the graph of MTSF versus failure rate, and these are the values of availability for different parameters. This is the graph of availability versus failure rate, and this is the values of cost function for different parameters, and this is the graph of cost benefit versus failure rate. Now the conclusion of the whole study is there are numerous conclusions based on graphical behavior of MTSF availability and cost benefit function. First, it is observed that the reliability measures are declined when lambda is failure rate and the rate by which unit cost for preventive maintenance is increased their values. Also, it is noticed that when we increase the value of repair rate, rate, preventive maintenance rate, and inspection rate, the MTSF availability and profit function take growth in their values. Hence, we conclude that the analysis uh, we can maximize the profit of the system by enhancing the preventive maintenance rate initially, but as the failure rate increase we can get maximum profit by enhancing the inspection rate. These are the references, and at the last, thank you all of you.
Madam, can you please go back to the this thing presentation, that the slide where you have shown the graph?
Yes, sir. Which graph, sir?
The first one, the first one, the first one.
Okay, sir. This is the graph.
No,
This is
no,
the
no, no.
graph, sir.
This is the table.
Yes, sir. This is the graph.
Not the previous, the state table graph, state graph,
We,
the state graph, the
state
state graph.
diagram, sir.
Yeah, the state diagram.
Okay,
State
sir.
diagram. Yeah, I could not help notice that. Can you please increase your this thing? That the last, the corner one, that is the. Can you just increase it? No, I'm mistaken. I did not see this thing. Okay, okay. It's all. It's all right. It's all right. It's all right. I noticed that it was basically not working. Okay. So what are these FURs and FWIs and all these stuffs? I could not get them. I missed that slide maybe. What is the FWI, FUR?
These are the notations, sir, which I explain. For example, FUI means the failed unit under inspection. in the capital form, I have taken the failed unit continuously under inspection. These are only in notations.
But you could not you have basically minimize the graph anymore? Could not the graph have been more minimized?
Pardon me, sir, I actually not understand you.
And could not the graph be minimized more? The graph, could you have minimized it? The state transition graph, which you have just shown, can it be
Yes, sir.
minimized? Can it be minimized?
Minify is means matlab, sir.
Can the number of states be minimized?
No, sir. No, sir. These are fixed for the model.
Uh, can I go to the next slide, please? Next slide. T01.
These are the transition probabilities for the states given in that diagram.
How did you get these transition probabilities?
Uh, this is the formula, but sir, Laplace transformation is used to obtain these transition probabilities.
Okay. Okay. I have no more questions. Can somebody can please continue the question?
Anybody has any other question? Any question? If there is no question, let us thank the speaker again. Thank you, madam, for this interesting and nice talk.
Thank you, sir.
Now we'll call Dr. L. Rama Mohan Reddy. Are you available? Let's check. Hello. Dr. L. Rama Mohan Reddy. Okay, I think he's not available. So we'll go to our next speaker, Dr. Bhavani Bhai Mansku Bhai from Sardar Vallabhbhai National Institute of Technology, Surat. Are you there?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, okay. Please, sir, kindly share your screen and present your research work.
Okay,
And
sir.
you have 12 minutes time, and after that 3 minutes question hour. Okay.
Okay, sir. My slides are visible, sir.
No. Yeah. Yes, visible now.
First of all, I would like to thank to Chairperson, sir, to providing me such a wonderful opportunity to present my work in this conference. I myself, Bhavin Bhai Rachadia, under the supervision of Dr. T.R. Singh, I am going to present on generalized Hermite-Hadamard type inequalities for S-convex differentiable function via Caputo-Fabrizio fractional operator. These are my outlines. These are the outlines of my presentation. Uh, in this work, I have introduced some new generalized Hermite-Hadamard type inequalities for the class of functions whose derivatives absolute value are S-convex function using the Caputo-Fabrizio fractional integral operator, and at the some applications are given. Uh, the inequality Hermite-Hadamard inequality has the wonderful application in pure and applied mathematics. So many researchers have devoted their work to Hermite-Hadamard inequality, which is given by theorem 1. So also many mathematicians have generalized and refined and extend their concept of convex function to different classes such as M convex function, S convex function, alpha M convex function, exponential convex function, uh, etc. And they have also derived Hermite-Hadamard inequality for different classes of convex function. Now, before going into to prove main results, some basic definition and concept have been discussed. Uh, First, I will introduce convex function. A function psi is said to be convex if inequality 2 holds. Another definition is S convex function. A function psi is said to be S convex if inequality 3 holds. Next is next two definitions, Caputo-Fabrizio operator. First one is left fractional uh, Caputo-Fabrizio derivative, which is given by equation 4, and associated Caputo-Fabrizio integral operator, which is given by equation 5. Similarly, we can define right Caputo-Fabrizio fractional derivative and associative right Caputo-Fabrizio integral operator by 6 and 7. One important lemma is discussed here, which was proved by Dragomir, which state that for a differentiable mapping, the inequality 8 holds. Another important lemma, which was proved by Dragomir in 2, which was linked by right hand side of equation 1, which state that for a differentiable mapping on I interior, inequality 9 holds. Now we discuss main results. The first equality state that for a differentiable mapping on I interior, the equality 10 holds, where b delta is a normalizing function which satisfies that b of 0 equal to b of 1 equal to 1. To prove this, I am going to use lemma 7. If we use lemma 7, we have equation 11. And if we multiply both side by delta, d1 minus c1 upon b delta, and subtracting 2 1 minus delta upon b delta psi of L, which gives equation 12. And if we multiply both sides by b delta upon delta d1 minus c1, the proof is simply completed. Next theorem is for a function for a differentiable function psi and mode of psi prime raised to q be S convex function, then inequality 14 holds. To prove this, I need lemma 7 Holder's inequality and the fact that mode of psi prime raised to q is S convex function. If we use lemma 7, we have equation 15. And if we simply use Holder's inequality, then we have equation 16. And the fact that mode of psi prime raised to q is S convex function, we have equation 7. We have inequality 17. And if we simplify this to simple integrals, we will have theorem which completes the proof. Next theorem is for a differentiable positive function psi and magnitude of psi prime be S convex function, then inequality 18 holds. To prove this, I need lemma 7 and the fact that mode of psi prime is a S convex function. If we use lemma 7, we have inequality 20, and from this we have inequality 21. And if we use the fact that mode of psi prime is S convex function, we have inequality 22. And on evaluating integrals, we have our proof. Next theorem is for a differentiable positive mapping on I and mode of psi prime raised to q be S convex function, then inequality 23 holds. As we have done earlier, lemma 7 Holder inequality and S convexity of magnitude of psi prime raised to q. This is quite similar to as we have done earlier. Next is corollary. For a differentiable mapping psi and mode of psi prime raised to q be S convex function, then inequality 24 holds. This can be proved using this fact Okay, to previous theorem, if we use this relation to previous theorem, our corollary 12 is proved. Next, next theorem is for a differentiable mapping psi and mode of psi prime raised to q be S convex function, then inequality 25 volts using lemma 7 and fact that magnitude of mode of psi prime q raised to q uh, which we have done earlier, we have the results 26, and if we evaluate the integral, the proof is completed. Similarly, as we have proved corollary 12, we can prove corollary 14. Now, application to spatial means. Before giving the application, I would like to define arithmetic mean and generalized logarithmic mean, which is defined by question 28 and 29. Now, first preposition for C1 and D1 belongs to R plus with C1 is less than D1, then inequality 30 holds. In theorem 10, for the proof, if we set in theorem 10 psi of u is equal to u square with delta equal to 1, b delta equal to b1 equal to 1, the proof is quite obvious. Now, another preposition for C1 D1 belongs to R plus with C1 less than D1, then inequality 31 holds. This proof is quite similar to as we have proved preposition 1. For this, we have to set psi of u is equal to e raised to u in theorem 10 with delta equal to 1 and b delta equal to b1 equal to 1. The proof is quite simple. Another preposition is there. For C1 and D1 belongs to R plus with C1 is less than D1, then inequality 32 holds. To prove this, we set psi of u is equal to u raised to n in theorem 10 with delta equal to 1, b delta equal to 1, b delta b equal to b1 equal to 1, then proof is completed. And these are my references. Thank you.
Thank you very much for this nice talk. Can you show the reference slide?
Yeah, what, sir?
Reference slide.
Okay, sir.
Okay. So is there any question? I'm just asking this to audience or anybody who is interested to ask question. Any question?
Mr. Bhavin, I'm actually not from mathematics, but can you just tell me what is this S convex functions, M convex functions, then it's alpha M convex function? Can you just
Yes.
tell me about these?
Yes, sir. Simply, see, sir, we have defined a convex function. Yes. This is a definition of convex function. Equation 2 and equation 3 is S convex function, sir. If we want to define M convex function, sir, this can be defined as psi of uc1 plus m 1 minus u d1 is less than or equal to u psi of c1 plus m 1 minus u into psi of d1. This will be the M convex function.
What does it actually mean geometrically?
Sir, actually, convex.
Geometrically, I just want a representation, geometrical representation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. The geometric meaning of convex function have been explained, sir. But till now, the geometric explanation of S convex function, M convex function, the different class of convex function has not been derived yet, sir.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Hello. Can you just repeat what you said? Means that about the S convex function, geometrical representation?
Yes, sir. Till now, geometric representation of S convex function has not been
it's not
derived.
like that. Means see, whenever you putting some parameter here, it might be some scaling kind of thing. So I just request you maybe means just can you look into it one more time, maybe after the conference, because here what we feel that you see everybody know the meaning of convex function, right? But
Yes.
S convex means here whenever you putting some power S, so here some scaling is there.
Okay, sir.
because here S is your S is a number that lies between 0 and, so some scaling will be there. So it may be zoom or synchronize, something like that. It should be there.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for your
I just suggest you
valuable suggestion, sir. I will try to
just see it. See, because S convex function has been introduced long back, so
yes.
there is some geometrical meaning of it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So
Thank you,
just, I
sir.
will just request you just look into it. Okay.
Yes.
Is there any and another thing is that you have discussed about some fractional derivative and integral, right?
Yes, sir.
So can you say any application of this?
Sir,
Because fractional calculation has lot of applications,
yes, sir.
and this belongs to the field of special functions, I think, right?
Yes, sir.
So
Yes, sir.
do you feel any application is possible in future like that?
Yes,
I'm not
sir.
asking the application of this work, means in this direction, any application kind of thing.
Yes, sir. To solve some certain kind of PDs and ODs, this inequalities may be useful in the future work.
How, any idea?
No, sir. Right now, I have not idea, but I am working on it, sir.
Okay, thank you. So is there any other question? Is there any other question from the audience side? Okay, if there's no other question, let us thank the speaker again. Thank you very much for this interesting talk and nice talk. Okay, now we will
thank you,
call
sir.
our next participant, next speaker, Dr. Yogendra Singh or Anand Kumar Tiwari. Anyone who is there? Here, I think corresponding is Dr. Yogendra Singh. So, sir, are you available?
Yes, sir. Good morning to all of you.
Okay, please share your research work.
Yes,
and you have 12 minutes time for presentation. After that, our question and answer session will start. Okay.
Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible. Please continue.
Okay. So thank you, organizing committee, for giving me this opportunity. Myself, Yogen Singh, research scholar, Department of Applied Science, IIIT Allahabad. The title of my presentation is a generalization of two uniform maps on the torus, which are the map corresponding to the two uniform tiling. This work is in collaboration with Dr. Anand Kumar Tiwari. These are the outline of my presentation. Firstly, I will give the introduction part, followed by the motivation, and then I will discuss my research work, which is enumeration of two uniform maps on the torus. A graph G consists of two sets V and E called set of vertices and edges respectively. A graph G is called simple if it has no multiple edge or multi-edge or loop, self loop. An embedding of a graph is a continuous injection map from a graph to a surface. An embedding is called a map if the closure of each component of S minus G, which are called faces of the map, is a p-gonal 2-disk. If the non-embedded intersection of any two faces is either a vertex or an edge, then we will call the map a polyhedral map. A finite cycle p1 raised to the power n1 up to pk raised to the power nk is called a phase cycle of a vertex B in a map if at the vertex B there are n1 number of p1 gone, n2 number of p2 gone, and nk number of pk gone incident in a given cyclic order. If the phase cycles of each vertex in a map is same, then the map is called semi-equivalent map. Torus is an example of closed surface, and figure 2 is an example of semi-equivalent map of type 3 cube 4 square. You can see that at each vertex there are 3 number of 3 gone and 2 number of 4 gone, and the phase cycles of each vertex is same. If we identify the vertical side, then we will get a cylinder, and after identifying the boundary of the cylinder, we will get a torus. So this is a map on torus. So if M is a map with two distinct phase sequence, then we will call it a W semi-equivalent map if the vertices of same phase cycle have link up same phase cycle up to a cyclic permutation. Figure 3 is an example of W semi-equivalent map which has two type of phase sequence, and the vertices of phase cycle 3 k power 6 have link up phase sequence 3 to the power 6 raised to the power 2, 3q4 square raised to the power 5. So this is a doubly semi-equivalent map. Figure 4 is an example of map having two type of phase sequence, but it is not a doubly semi-equivalent map because the vertex V3 and V12 have phase cycle 3 square 4 3 4, but their phase sequence of link is different. So this is not a doubly semi-equivalent map. A tiling of the plane using regular polygon is called K uniform tiling. If it has exactly it is edge to edge and exactly K classes of vertices under the action of its symmetry. For K is equal to 1, the K uniform tiling is called Archimedean tiling. There are 11 types of one uniform tiling. These are of the following type. Out of these, the first 3 are called regular tiling and the remaining 8 are called semi-regular tiling. Here, in the first 3 type, we are using only one type of regular polygon, while in the remaining 8 type, there are two types of regular polygon. Croton had shown that there are exactly 20 distinct two uniform tiling of the plane. These are of the following types. Figure 5 and figure 6 are the example of the first two types, two uniform tiling. Since plane is the universal cover of torus, so it motivates us to explore the same type of map on the torus as associated with these 22 uniform tiling. In this context, we have done some work, and we devise a way to enumerate and classify this doubly semi-equivalent map on the torus for arbitrary number of vertex. So we have considered a DCM of type 3k power 6 3q 4 square 1. Here we can see that at each vertex in figure 7, at each vertex there are 3 types of path, A1, A2 and A3. So since M is a map on finite number of vertex and it is on closed surface, so every maximal path of type A1, A2, A3 gives a cycle. Also, one can see that this cycle A1, A2 or A3 are contractible, non-contractible. A cycle is called contractible if it bounds at 2 disks. Otherwise, it is called non-contractible. So we have shown that all of the cycle A1, A2, A3 are non-contractible. Since each of the cycle is non-contractible, the geometric carrier of the phases which are the geometric carrier will be cylinder, which is the union of all the phases which are incident on it. So if geometric carrier is a cylinder SQ having boundary Q1 and Q2, then we say that Q1 and Q2 are of same type and their respective length will be the same. So till now we have seen that there are 3 types of we have defined 3 types of cycle at a vertex, and all of them are non-contractible. So if we see in the figure on the torus, the red cycles will be the only possibility for this cycle. So if we cut this torus along the red cycle, any one of the red cycle, this will give a cylinder. So without loss of generality, suppose that we are cutting this torus along a cycle of type A1 and the incident faces are triangle. So this will give a cylinder. Now at starting from a vertex, cut along a path of type A3. So this will until we reach at the vertex, starting vertex once again. So this will unfold the torus into a planar representation. See here in figure 8. So here in this cutting, if we want to reconstruct the map from this planar representation, the identification of vertical side is natural, but identification of horizontal side generally needs some shifting. So suppose there are k number of shifting. So then we will call this representation as MIJK representation, where I is the length of horizontal cycle of type A1 and J are the number of such cycle of type A1 and K be the shifting. Since at each vertex there are exactly one cycle of type A1, so every cycle of type A1 can have unique length, and we can see that A2 and A3 type cycle are mirror image of each other. So they define same type of cycle. So A2 type cycle can have at most 2 different lengths. Similarly, A3 type cycle can have at most 2 different lengths. So the DSM of type 3^6 3^4 square 1 has an MIJK representation if and only if it satisfies the following condition. The length of horizontal cycle is always greater than or equal to 3. Then J will be multiple of 3 and the number of vertices will be always greater than or equal to 9 and K will lie between 0 to I minus 1. So a natural question arises, in what condition any two MIJK representation on same number of vertices is isomorphic? For that, we have defined cycle type in a map. So how we have defined the cycle of type A4 in MIJK representation starting from the vertex xk plus 1. We can move along along a path of type A2 and along a path of type A3. So suppose we start from xk plus 1 to xk1, which is path of type A2, and then go to xk1 to xk plus 1. This will give a cycle, say Q41. Similarly, there is a cycle Q42. Among these two cycles, we have taken the cycle of minimum length, and we call cycle. It is called a cycle of type A4. So if for t is equal to 1, 2, if mt, it, jt, kt represent a DSM on mt of type 3^6 3^4 square on the same number of vertices, and Q2 alpha be a cycle of type A alpha and LT alpha with their respective length, then we say that mt, it, jt, kt has a cycle type X if LT2 is less than or equal to LT3, or Y if LT3 is less than LT2. So using this cycle type, we have seen that this DSM will be isomorphic if and only if they have same cycle type. If we take n is equal to 12 and j is equal to 3, then we have, by the previous lemma, I is equal to 4 and k is equal to 0, 1, 2, 3. This gives MIJK 4 possibility for MIJK. So in figure 10, 11 and 30, we have seen that they have different cycle types, so they can't be isomorphic, but the figure 10 and figure 12 have same cycle type. So if we identify the figure 12 along the vertical boundary and cut along the path x3, x7, u4, x3, this will give figure 14, which is M430. So if we map horizontal cycle to the horizontal cycle, then this will give, say, map isomorphism between M43 in between figure 3 and figure 4. So figure 10 and 14 are isomorphic. This gives that 10 and 12 are isomorphic. So there are 3 map up to isomorphism on 12 number of vertices. This is a tabular representation of DSM of type 3^6 3^4 square 1 on 4 consecutive number of vertices. And when cardinality of BM is 9, there are 2 maps. When 12, then there are 3 maps. For 15, there is 3, and for 18, there is 6 number of. These are the sub-references. Thank you.
Mr. Singh, can you just tell me basically what is the difference between the finding of cycles in toruses versus finding of circles in planar graphs? What is the difference between finding of cycles, cycle finding in planar graphs, right? Normal planar graphs, and cycle findings for basically graphs embedded on a torus. What is the difference you have found? How is it different?
So, I found no difficulty because if
how is it different? How is it different?
So if you are finding a cycle in planar diagram, then it will be easy. But in the torus, if you don't cut torus and you have no planar representation of torus, then it will be very difficult to find cycle, because you can see the vertices on one side, but opposite side you can't see. Right. That's why we have cut the torus. Then we get a cylinder, and we will cut along another cycle to unfold the torus into planar representation. Then the thing will be very easy to see here and find the cycle.
So that means you are saying that at the end of the day, if I want to work with toruses, I won't be able to, unless I do not cut the torus in specific ways to find, to actually put it on as in a plane, I won't be able to find any cycles.
You can find cycle, but it will be difficult. If there are large number of vertices, then it is not always easy to see all the vertices and join, because you can see the vertices on the opposite side. If you see the picture of torus, just 1 minute. So here, if you this is the semicolor map of type 3^4 square. So if you want to embed this on this surface, So suppose there is some V8, V9, V10 in the opposite direction. Suppose it is V6, V7, V1. So you don't be able to see whether the vertices are, and in that case it will be difficult to find the cycle. So that's why we have cut the torus, and we have the freedom that the plane is universal cover of torus. So you can cut, and we will get always a planar representation. So that's why we have done this.
Okay. Can you just go to the next slide, please? The next slides. I want to just understand the symbols. Can you just tell me what does it actually mean? That is a 3 cube, 3 to the power of 3, then the dot 4 to the
So
power.
here it means that there are three number if you see that the vertex V6, so there are three number of 3 gun, 1, 2, 3, three number of 3 gun and 2 number of 4 gun.
So,
So there are
how many? What?
2 number of 4 gun.
4 gun. Okay.
So there are two type of phase sequence. One is 3 cube 4 square, means at V6 there is 3 number of 3 gun and 2 number of 4 gun, while at U3 you can see that there are 6 number of 3 gun. So there are two type of phase sequence. But if you see the V6, its link will be a cycle, which is V1, V2, V3, V7, V3, V2, V5 and V1. So we have defined the link of phase cycle. So it will be of the form U3 and U2 has phase sequence 3k power 6. So 3k power 6 is square, 2 consecutive 3 6 gun, and
Right.
after that there are 5 consecutive 3 cube 4 square. So the phase sequence of link of 3 cube 4 square will be 3 6 to the power 2, 3 cube 4 square to the power 5. Similarly, for the 3k power 6 you can define.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Is there any other question from audience side? Any other question? Okay. If there is no question, let us thank the speaker again. Thank you, Mr. Singh, for this interesting and this nice geometry. It was very, I think, interesting talk, and it will be very helpful for others also. Thanks. Now I'll just call other speakers if they're available, because they can then present their work, because when I announce their names they were absent. So let us call again. So first Mr. Ankur Nehra, are you there? Mr. Ankur Nehra? Okay, he is absent. So Miss Nitakshi Goel from Akal Degree College, Punjab. Miss Nitakshi Goel. Mr. Ankur Nehra from BFIT Group Institution, Dehradun. Okay, another one, Dr. Brijesh Kumar Gupta from MIT University, Gwalior, MP. Dr. Brijesh Kumar Gupta, are you there? No. So, okay, thank you very much. We close our session here. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
We are very grateful to you, sir, that apart from having a busy schedule, you agreed to chair our session. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you for your kind support and chairing the session. Thank you, everyone.